Hey there. I am looking and feeling a little rough. I was actually lying in bed, starting to doze off, listening to some YouTube videos, and sorry, that was Jack. um, Inspiration struck. I was listening to Nisha and Dr. Ken Berry, talking about carnivore, ketovore, keto. They do a Monday Night Live, among other broadcasts, and they were answering questions. People write in and ask if keto or carnivore helps with this, helps with that. What about this condition? What about that condition? If I have, a gallbladder missing or thyroid problems, can I still follow it? That sort of thing. And he was summing up, like, you don't have to pick every single situation apart, because I don't know if I've ever heard of anyone who didn't benefit from some sort of variation of low carb, to whatever degree, but mostly clean eating. It causes, and he's an MD, he's a doctor, and he says that, our lifestyle, our diet, and other lifestyle choices cause 98.5% of just about anything that goes wrong in our bodies or our minds. And I agree 100%. I am such a big proponent about teaching people of things that they can do, things that they can take and use that are up-leveling their lives, that are cleaner, healthier, homeopathic remedies instead of pharmaceuticals in a lot of cases. It's a clean way to fix a problem and actually cure it, fix it, instead of just masking symptoms. That's really good. And essential oils, they're powerful. They've got powerful mood uplifting properties and bacterial and viral fighting properties and things like that. So I talk about those sorts of things, and more recently, healing frequency, treatments, medicines, because all the cells in our bodies are running on electricity. I mean, we are electrical, and every cell in our body has an optimum frequency. And as we age and as we go through stress and whatever, the frequency starts to get off in certain cells, and it can stay off and get worse and worse. And after the frequency is off for an amount of time, then that's when diseases and illnesses start manifesting inside the physical body. But before that ever happens, it was the frequencies of the involved cells being too low, usually, or just not right. And the body can only keep up with that for so long before it enters a disease state. So there's all these things that we can do, and I like learning about them. I like talking about them, teaching about them, because I feel empowered. I am empowered knowing about them and using them, and the learning never stops, which is exciting to me. I'm almost a pathological researcher. Every day I have to be learning and delving, and I don't know, there's always more to learn, which is exciting, which I love. And I want all of you to benefit from my doing that, because I know that most people don't want to do that. That doesn't ring their bell like it does mine. So I'm happy to fill that role, and that's wonderful. But back to my point, it's late. I'm tired. I'm rambling. Sorry. But most of the things that we cause or that we have that go wrong, diseases and illnesses and sicknesses and all of that, happen or are as bad as they can be sometimes because we have abused our immune systems and abused our basics, sleep, and doing what we can to not focus on the negative messages more than the positive, things like that. It sounds, light and foofy and whatever, but scientifically it is everything. It's everything. Our thoughts are frequency. Everything starts with our thoughts. If we were strong enough to really harness in and police our thoughts until they became more positive as a habit, we wouldn't even need really any other help, because that's extremely powerful. Talk about power, just being able to use our own minds, which that's free. You don't have to go to the store. You don't have to order. You just focus. But, we got to just stop making bad decisions and shoveling bad industrial type things in our bodies that have no resemblance to anything that came from the earth ever. And it blocks our bodies from just behaving in normal, just basic level ways. For instance, just the industrial seed oils. They're learning now that consuming those, which they're in just about every packaged food, certainly every fast food, most restaurant foods, all the chain foods, they're made in a lab, made in vast quantities. They're super, super cheap, readily available, and they block our cells from functioning. Just flat out functioning. They should be illegal. No entity on earth, plant, animal, human, what have you, has any business getting near these industrial seed oils. It's like if you had a duck that was covered, or one of these seabirds that was covered in an oil spill. You see on the news when that happens, and it's heartbreaking. They'll pull this bird out and it's covered in petroleum and this black oil. And it's like, that's what you're putting on every cell in your body when you're eating canola oil, vegetable oil, just any of those types of oils that, the Criscos and all of that. And your cells can't perform. They can't communicate. There's no respiration happening. So it's as if you got one of these seabirds covered in this oil and started feeding it healthy water and vitamins, and the bird is dying, and you say, well, what's wrong? I'm giving it prebiotics and probiotics and sunshine and all these good things, but it's covered in petroleum. It's covered in oil. It's boggling to the mind if you really know what's happening. And then, of course, there's the sugars and the processed carbohydrates and your insulin. And most of you have heard that every which way from Sunday, and you know it, I hope. But I don't think a lot of us realize just how dire these things are. So you can learn all of these wonderful modalities, treatments, yoga, meditation, walking, breathing, supplementation, herbs, green smoothies, different diets, and all of that's wonderful, and all of that can save lives and transform lives. But if you're causing massive damage to the entirety of your body, there's only so much anything can do to counter what you're doing to yourself. You just got to stop at least 95% of all of that. It's just, I could really go on a tangent and I could get upset, but that doesn't help anybody. Message me if you had questions, if you want to know where to go to find out more, if that interests you at all. But there's situations where people are just going through the drive-thru for lunch and frying up their breakfast or dinner in canola oil, vegetable oil, and then wondering why their blood pressure won't come down, why they have brain fog, why dementia is starting to set in, why blood sugars are out of control no matter what they do or how well they eat or how much they exercise. It's frustrating. It can be very frustrating because you think that you're doing the right things and it's not working, but it's not working because your cells are covered in this stuff that they never are meant to come in contact with. So, and once you know exactly what's happening, once you know exactly what you're doing to your body, and if you still say, I want to eat this stuff, it makes me feel good in the moment, it gives me that mental high, it's really cheap. It's really, really, really cheap. And that's, I want to spend $2 on my dinner, or I want to get, my family fed for $10, and that's what I'm used to. That's what I've budgeted for. And but yeah, fine. That's fine. That's what you want to do it, but just know that it's going to come out in one way or another. It's going to come out in prescription medicines. It's going to come out in time at the doctor or sick time in bed, time off of work. So it's going to cost you up front or later down the line. So invest in yourself now and your health, and upgrade the level of food that you eat, the level of food that you give your family, and then have an easier, happier, better quality of living later on. And that could mean tomorrow as well as years down the road. I know what I'm talking about. I 10, 11 years ago lost 170 something pounds. So that's how I lived. I know it. I was very, very heavy for a very, very, very long time. And so I did have to make a lot of massive changes and clean up and lose the gluten forever. That's not something I can ever have in moderation. And most people really can't digest it or tolerate it very well. And until you take it away, you don't realize what it's doing to your body. So there's things that can help just about every situation, but it's so much easier to just not cause the situation to begin with. It's so much easier and better to just educate ourselves and experiment. Say, like when I dropped the gluten, I was convinced that I didn't have a problem with it. I thought, well, that's not me. I don't have intestinal troubles, and I don't have this and that, and that's just weird. And why would I want to do that? But then something in the back of my mind said, well, just try it. Just give it up for a month. And then I had to learn what it was and what it was in. And this was back in 2009. So there wasn't as much available then. It was a process. It was difficult, but I wanted to experiment. I wanted to just see, if only to say, well, look, I'm fine. I took it away and I can still eat it. And so shut up about it. But I took it away, and big things that were supposedly irreversible went totally away and never came back. So that was the best thing I've ever done in my life. And there's nothing worth bringing it back again just because of all the stuff that it causes in me, which is another video for another day, if you care to hear about that. But yes, I mean, I've been there. I'm not judging people who go to fast food every day, because I surely was one of them. And I'm not judging people who go to the old country buffets and get their money's worth, because I lived that way for decades. And so I've been there, and I've been where I am now. I'm not the thinnest that I have been. I can eat enough grass-fed butter to choke an elephant. So I have my vices. I have my things that I overdo for emotional reasons. So not throwing any stones on this end, but I know I'm not giving myself diabetes. I know, even though everyone in my family has it. And I know that I'm not ever going to have a high blood pressure unless I choose to, and on and on and on and on. I've learned what causes it, and I learned how to stop it and reverse it, and it works. So I don't know. I kind of think about it like going back in time to the 40s or 50s, and everybody pretty much was a smoker, and the doctors endorsed the smoking, and the ads endorsed the smoking, and you could smoke everywhere you wanted and eat. My dad smoked in the hospital waiting room while I was being born. So it was just what you did. And you couldn't go back and blame them for the lung cancers and my grandmother died from complications from emphysema and smoking and all of that. So I'm not judging that either. But back then they didn't know. They had no idea really what they were doing. But today, if someone is smoking, they know full well what's happening, and they're taking responsibility for that. And they can't, sorry, that's Jack again. And they can't complain that, they're developing conditions, or they can't breathe, or they can't exercise. They're making that choice, and that is theirs to make. That's fine. It's your life. It's your body. You do what you want to do, but I want you to know what you're doing. and then be able to choose, make an educated decision. And we do know about sugar, and we know about, well, hopefully a lot of things like the chemicals and things like that to whatever degree, but there's always more. And I don't want to be one of those people that's always railing against this and that, and because if you just really went into it, it seems like there's nothing left, so you can't be like that either. But I think I have found a really very generous, comfortable place to live, and I can overdo it or I can straighten up and play with it that way. But I'm not causing diseases. I'm not causing catastrophic breakdowns in my body. I know that. So that again is another source of power, is to just stay away from the slow poisons and sometimes the fast poisons. But that was Dr. Berry's point, that you don't have to find things to fix this, and you don't have to find things to fix that. Just stop causing it, and most of the time it will resolve on its own. So those are the things that just will get me all excited at bedtime, and my mind starts racing, and I just have to talk about it. Like I said, I'm pathological about these obsessions sometimes, but anyway, maybe someone else out there is too and appreciates hearing about it and may want to converse a little bit more about it, or maybe do a little experimenting and just try dropping some things for a month and just see how you feel. See what happens. See how your body responds. It's kind of neat to be able to experiment like that. So I think I'm going to go get ready for bed and calm down a little bit now, but I just wanted to share that with you. Thanks. Bye.